you talk about the college space, you're starting to see more girls in college. It's becoming a legit avenue, whereas, and it's got a lot of room to grow still, but I mean, it was kind of like doomsday if you're going to college,
Right.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, I'm definitely seeing more of like, girls, and the college coaches, credit to them. They're doing a great job of like hosting some pro level tournaments, and giving their players that exposure, so
And Jay, if I can cut in, and getting the players better, right?
getting the players better. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's where it comes down to. There's a lot younger, not the younger is the recipe, but there's a lot more of an influx of younger coaches like yourself that are in the college trenches now that are developing the players. I always felt back in the day, especially the, later 80s, early 90s, back in my time, and obviously going through and even the later 90s, early 2000s, college coaches were teaching a different game. They were teaching make balls. They were teaching depth. They were teaching don't take a lot of risks. Get that serve in there, grind, keep across court. They weren't teaching game development. And so, unfortunately, well deserved, right? You were not getting better, at a higher level because of college, because that was the mentality. They wanted you to win, right? And at that point, you were having to change in some ways who you were as a player, and you almost sacrificed your game development or your identity of who you were as a player to fit that coach's mold and that coach's, win percentage a little bit. I feel like now the players are going to college getting better. You know what I mean? I'm looking at Emma got better at school. You know what I mean? I know my girl McCartney Kessler. Who else was a pretty good
Stearns,
Peyton Stearns. My girl that went to UCLA, big serve. Jen Brady.
Jen Brady.
Jen Brady got way better in college. She went. I think somebody told me I want to say Stella said she was playing like 5'6" when she first got there.
Yeah.
Not because she couldn't win,
right?
But because her game was just a little erratic, and by the time it ended, she ended up playing one, worked herself into a nice spot, worked on her game, kept fine, but didn't change her game, got better at her game, and just got more consistent with that big game, which is hard to do, right? Obviously, all the way to the finals of the U.S. Open. So I say it to say, just really neat to see the college ranks, get better. They didn't default to college, right? They went to college as a result of the results we're getting there. So that's one thing I want to shout out to some of those players, but the college coaches that are doing a lot of good, that are really putting the proof in the pudding, so to speak, to me.
So Jay, you get a chance.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think, also being at USTA, I think Matt Clore, he helped us out with like a pathway study that just basically shows, some of those girls you named, like how many pro level tournaments that they play during college. And if my memory serves me correct, I don't believe Emma played many pro level tournaments her freshman year. Mm-hmm. But, we kind of studied the sweet spot. If you could play, 7 to 10 pro level tournaments while you're in college, let's just say, obviously you're going to play the bulk of your pro level tournaments during the summer.
Right.
Because that's when, school is out,
right.
you should be able to play. But if you can get like, somewhere between, that 7 to 10 pro level tournaments, then you're getting like that level of exposure of where now you're coming back to play some of your peers, and you're not like, nervous because you're playing the girl at, Texas that's number one,
sure.
Or I'm nothing against Texas, but you're not.
Yeah. Peyton will hold it against you.
Let me ask you this though, like since within your role, since you're working with American girls between like 15 and 21, I assume sometimes you'll see someone go through juniors and then go to college, and then maybe you get more time with them while they're in between sessions. What is the relationship right now between the USTA and the let's say NCAA teams, the schools and the coaches? Do you guys get a chance to work together, or is that something you're reaching out for, or vice versa?
I think that, I've coached a few girls who've gone off to play college, and I think it was always like, okay, let me reach out on a personal note. Hey, I'm handing, or if I'm that USTA coach, I'm working with that player who decided to go to college. Hey, look, this is what some of her areas of focus we've been working on. Here's her development plan. Hey, when she's fit, then she's gonna do fine. Hey, after, you're telling them, it's more of on a personal level. now I feel like, where the USTA and NCAA, they formalized it now, right? Like, we have more of a partnership now.
Yeah,
But
what does
with
that look
the,
like?
well, I believe now they have the tournament, where I think they take the top 8 players. We're still getting more
Right.
information on that, you know. So, and I believe it's closer to like the US Open tournament, because I think in the past, it was like, oh, you win the NCAAs, but then, you wait like, months before you play, I guess get the US Open wild card.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's almost 2 peaks, isn't it, Jay?
right,
It's
right.
almost you got a May peak, early May at that, and then you got a
Yes,
early September, slash late August peak, and
right.
most players don't the periodization doesn't allow for 2 peaks in that difference of time. Let alone you got to take your peak into, let's face it, French and Wimby. You know what I mean? Which is not the hardcore you spent the last several months playing. So that's actually great planning on their part.
Yes. And then I think another thing too, like with college, I mean, there's so many more opportunities now. Like if they had the accelerator program, back when I was playing, at least like on a Tuesday at practice, I'd be like, all right, man, I've got 6 pro level tournaments to play. Like, let me do a few extra reps. Not that I needed the motivation, but it would have been nice, just to have that opportunity, to be able to like play more pro level tournaments because I went to college like thinking like, okay, like, at Clemson, they groomed pros in the past, okay, I want a coach that's nuts and that's, that wants to, develop pro players. But, I just felt like we didn't have much time to play pro level tournaments in college.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we weren't getting that exposure. If a guy came with a big serve, 6'3", 6'6", it's like, man, you're not seeing that every day, Like I think in Europe, you're seeing that every day. It's a 25K or whatever tournament almost every week.